Okay, here we are in this video, and here we're going to talk about the hierarchy section and the project section and the folders or directories. Um, let's start down here on assets. Basically, these names you can make up, and I typically divide things into reusable, which is stuff that I can reuse from game to game, or stuff that's unique to the game. Like imported, I typically stuff that I get from somebody else goes in here, right? That way, if I'm looking for something and I know I did it, I know it's not even imported, so I won't even bother in there. Resources is kind of a catch-all for stuff. In my case, I have I/O materials and sounds in this one. Scenes are the scenes we were talking about, like this is a loading scene, or it isn't really, and loading scene is a name I made up because it's the first scene that loads. There is no special meaning to these names. It's just something that means something to me. So the next, if I were to create a new scene, let's say right-click, create scene, I could call it level 2. Oops. Level 2, right, or something. And I could rename this one to level 1 if I wanted. If I double click on level 2, it takes me to this scene that I haven't done anything with. It's because we just created it and it's empty. I want to delete that. You can't delete it while you're in it. So let's go back to the loading scene, and then I'll click once here and then right click and delete scene 2. And it was that simple to make a scene. Of course it's empty, but it's that simple. So these names don't really mean anything, but try to come up with some sort of naming scheme that's consistent for you. Same with up here. A lot of these folder names don't mean anything. They're names you get to make up. And if you import an asset and it makes something new up here, and sometimes it's called like, C1743, and it's actually the moon. So you just right click on it and rename it to moon so you know what the heck it is. The way these are organized up here is kind of nice. I can organize them alphabetically, which is the way I prefer. Or they call it transform sorting, but it should be called user sorting, right? Because I can just say, well, I want enemies to be above player. Boom, it's above player. Or I want it the other way around, and it remembers it. Let's put this directional light next to the other directional light, right? And so on. And you can do it any way you want. I prefer alphabetical. You can do whatever you want. Same with down here. So that's kind of the basic intro to folders, and they're much like disk folders on the File Explorer on Windows. You can name the directories anything you want. Typically you put videos in video, you put sound in sound, and so on, right? So you can find them. But you could call them, babbling toothache and put your videos in there if you wanted, if that's what you want to call them. That's just fine. The computer doesn't care, Unity doesn't care. Just, if I didn't say it again, don't create one down here called editor. I can explain it later, but don't do it. It has a special meaning. There's also one called streaming assets. Don't name it streaming assets either, and there may be more. I'll let you know as this goes on. Typically I don't use them. That's why I have to think about them. So that ends this video about folders and how these two are organized. I will see you in the next video.